All right, so this video is going to focus on 2.2, and on this one I'm dividing fractions, or dividing integers, I should say. And the cool thing about this is if you understand 2.1, it's very similar. And the reason why I say that is because the rules for multiplication and division are identical. So remember before how we had a negative times a negative? If I do a negative divided by a negative, that equals a positive. If I do a positive divided by a negative, that equals a negative. So same kind of rules that I had before. If I do a positive divided by a positive, that equals a positive. And the final one is if I have a negative divided by a positive, that equals a negative answer. So as long as you remember these rules, which were the same as multiplication, it's pretty easy. So if I look at this one here, it says, so these have different, right? So let's put a D. And if it's different, remember different ones, so like this one here or this one over here, there'll be negative answers. So it'll be a negative. And you just do 12 divided by 6, which is negative 2. This one has different, again, because one's a positive, one's a negative. 10 divided by 2 is 5. We know it's a negative 5. This one here, they're negative as well, because it's a negative divided by a positive, so they're different. 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So negative. These have the same sign, so I'll put an S here. And remember, if they're the same, like negative divided by negative or positive divided by positive, those are positive answers. So 12 divided by 12 is just 1. This one here, they're both negatives, so they're the same, right? And 21 divided by 7 is 3. And of course, that's a positive. 0 divided by 15. Well, if I have 0 divided by 15, I'm going to have a 0. Even though they're different, it's just going to be a 0 here. Same with this one, 0 divided by 4, that will also be 0. And then 5 or negative 5 divided by 4, well, they're different, so I'll put a D here. It'll be a negative, and this will just be negative 5/4, or negative 1 1/4 if you simplify it, right? And then this one here is positive divided by a negative, so it's again a difference, so it'll be a negative answer. This is 5/4 or negative 5/4, just like the last one was. But I'll write this, so 4 goes into 5 one full time. I have 1 left over, and then 4. So it's negative 1 1/4, or negative 1.25 if you use a calculator. This one here is just showing, it says find the values of negative 8/4, negative 8/4, and 8/-4. These all mean exactly the same thing. So if there's a negative sign, it applies to one of the numbers. If it applied to both of them, then it would be a negative 8 divided by negative 4, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive answer. So all three of these, this is really important to understand, because you'll see this all the time, where the negative sign is in the middle, up top, or down below. These all represent the same thing, that one of them is positive and one is negative. So that's a really important concept. Make sure you understand that part. We're talking about dividing with the same sign and different signs, and of course I've explained before that it's the same thing as multiplication. So like these things here will be positive answers, and these here will be negative answers, because one is a positive, one is a negative, one is a negative, one is a positive. They're different, right? So that's why they're a negative answer at the end of the day. If I look at these two here, these are negative answers. They're both negatives, so it will be negative 18 divided by negative 6 is positive 3, because they're both negatives. I want you to try doing these. So pause the video and try doing 1, 2, and 3. All right, so hopefully you looked at this and saw they were the same, so it's just 7. Negative 32 divided by negative 4, these are the same also. They're both negatives, so this will be, so 32, so 8. Sorry, took me a second there. But it's a positive 8, right? And this one here, it's a negative divided by a negative, so we know that this is a positive answer, and it's just equal to 5. If I have different signs, this is where the signs will be, my answer will be a negative. So 1 positive, 1 negative, so this will be a negative answer, so it will be negative 3. 1 negative, 1 positive, so it will be a negative 9. And then let's just keep on going here. If I have 0 divided by negative 6, well, this is that 0 rule, so it's just a 0. This is a negative divided by a positive, so it's negative 7. And this is a positive divided by a negative, so it will be negative 7 also. So I really hope you understand this concept that if one of the numbers is a negative and the other is a positive, it's a negative answer. And this is a really important thing. I said it before, but if I have like negative 6 over 3, I could write this 3 different ways. One way I could write it like this. I could do a negative and then 6 over 3. Or I could do 6 over negative 3. These all mean exactly the same thing, right? When I divide, you have one negative and one positive. And again, the rationale behind this is if you think that they both will be negative, like this would be negative 6 over negative 3, that would be a positive answer, and that's not what it's showing. It's only showing one negative sign. All right, so let's keep on looking here. If I look at this here, this is just filling in. So we're going to get into algebra when I get back, and it's really plugging in variables. So I have x over 2y. So x is equal to 8, so I'll put down 8 over 2, and then y is equal to negative 4. So I'll put down negative 4. And of course, this is represented on the right over here also. I'm just kind of showing you how they did it. And if I look at this, the 8 stays the same, and then 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Now one of these is positive and one is negative, so 8 divided by negative 8, it will equal negative 1. And that's how I get this answer right here. For this one, I'm going to plug in these values for this. So I have negative 8 squared plus 12, and then it's divided by negative 4. Now notice that this isn't in parentheses here, right? So that's why I have negative 8 squared. So if I look at this, I have 8 times 8, and that'd be right here, 64, but there's a negative sign before it, right? Because it's not in parentheses. So that's how I have negative 64, and negative 64 plus 12. If I do that, negative 64 and 12, and this equals negative 52. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake on something here. This is a really important mistake to see that I made. All right, so it isn't actually divided by 4 here. Let me try this all over again, I apologize. The way it's written is negative 8 squared plus 12, and then divided by negative 4. So it isn't both of these things divided by y, which is what I thought it was before. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'll have negative 8 times 8 plus 12, and then divided by 4. And then I would add these together and I get negative, or multiply them, negative 64. But now I have to do order of operations, and division comes next, right? From left to right. I first do parentheses, then I do multiplication, which there really isn't anything, but then there's division. So 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3. But it's negative 4. So that equals negative 3. And then I have negative 64 plus negative 3. And right now, this is where people get confused because they think negative and negative becomes a positive, but that's only for multiplication, right? If I'm on a number line and I'm at negative 64, and then I go to the left 3 more places, I'm actually at negative 67. So make sure you don't make that mistake. It happens all the time where we learn the addition rules and the multiplication rules, people get a little mixed up. So make sure you understand that when you do multiplying, of course, a negative times a negative is a positive, but whenever I'm adding, a negative plus a negative is further to the left, right? What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try to do 7 through 9, all right? All right, so hopefully you had a chance to do this, and I'm just plugging this in. So negative 18 divided by negative 6, and that equals 3. This is negative 18 plus 6 divided by 3. My larger absolute value is a negative, so my answer for this one would be like negative 12 over 3. And a negative divided by a positive is a negative answer, so it's negative 4. And then this one here, this is like in parentheses, so it's like negative 18. Oops, I'm sorry. It's negative 6 in parentheses, and then squared. Notice that this one is, I'm considering this to be in parentheses because you're plugging b, or negative 6 in for b. And so it's negative 6 is right here, and then the whole thing is being squared, so that's why it's in parentheses. So negative 6 squared, and then over negative 18. And then you're going to add 4 plus 4. So negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. divided by negative 18 equals negative 2. And then it's negative 2 for these things here, plus 4. And that's how you get 2 as your answer. All right. So hopefully this is making sense to you when you go through it. I'm going to give you some problems to do on Big Ideas Online. Give it a try. If you have any problems, I'm happy to go through it when I get back. But this is really helpful for when we get to algebra to understand how all these rules work. So that's why I'm having you do this while I'm gone. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here. If I look at this, it's just written horizontally, but it's a negative time or divided by a positive, so this will be a negative answer. So negative 3. This here is a negative divided by a negative, so this is positive 3. This is a positive divided by a negative, so it will be a negative 5. Hopefully these rules are kind of working for you. If I look at these, one of these doesn't work. And hopefully you see it right away. Notice it's a positive divided by a negative. This is a negative divided by a positive, negative divided by a negative, and negative divided by a positive. So which one doesn't fit? Well, this one. Because the rest will equal a negative answer, and this one doesn't. So that is the lesson in a nutshell. You'll have a couple examples, like I said. I do want to show you one last problem. It's this one here. And it just says that imagine that I don't know if you've ever been to a beach with high tide and low tide, but at 2 o'clock p.m., it's 59 inches high. And then at 8 p.m., it's only 8 inches. So it wants to know, what is the mean hourly change? So the way that I have to do this is, first of all, find out the difference between these numbers. And I could do 59 to minus 8 or 8 minus 59. It doesn't matter as long as you realize it's going down. So your answer is going to be a negative, right? So if I do 59 minus 8, my answer is going to be 51. And it's going down 51. The way they did it here is they did the 8 first minus 59 and they got negative 51. So either way that you do it is fine. It doesn't matter as long as you understand that it's getting lower as you go, and that's why it's negative 51. And this isn't distance, this is height, right? So that's why it could be a negative. And then I have to find out my mean, so per hour, and it seems like there are from 2 to 8 o'clock, that's 6 hours. And that's where the 6 comes from. And if I do negative 51 divided by 6, that's how I get negative 8.5. So it's going down negative 8.5 feet for every 1 hour that elapses. And after 6 hours, it went down to 8 feet from 59. So that's what it's really saying here. So hopefully this makes sense. Good luck on your problems in Big Ideas Online. And again, if we have any questions, take notes and I'll answer them when I return. Thank you.